The Day We Die Part 3. Story by Evie Steele.
Finding Terry, they didn't know where else to go, so they went to the hospital. They waited in the maintenance hallway until Terry came off shift, still in his blue coveralls, his eyes rimmed red from exhaustion. He'd always been kind to them. He fixed the vending machine if it ate their quarters. Once he'd let them sit in the break room during a tornado warning. Now he looked at them with wary confusion. "What are you girls doing here?" Rachel stepped forward, her voice shaking. "Mr. Nolan, there's something you need to know." It took 20 minutes to explain everything, the pattern, the drownings, the lynching, the town under the lake. Eden thought he would laugh, or tell him to get out. Instead, he just sat down hard on an overturned mop bucket and stared at the floor. "I did 2 tours in Afghanistan," he said finally. His voice was hollow. "Saw things I don't talk about. Thought I'd left all the death behind." He rubbed his face with a trembling hand. "I thought coming back here was a fresh start." Rachel's throat closed. "We don't have any answers yet. But we're trying." He looked up, and she saw something in his eyes she didn't recognize. "Something breaking. You kids need to get out of this while you can," he said hoarsely. "Before it eats you, too." Then he stood, walked past them, and left. July 2nd, Terry disappears. By morning, he was gone. His landlady said she hadn't seen him since his shift ended. His car was still in the driveway. His wallet was on the kitchen counter. The police put out a notice, but nobody seemed in any real hurry to look for him. "They think he just snapped," Heather whispered as they sat together on Eden's porch. "They think it's PTSD. Rachel was pale and shaking. "Tomorrow's my birthday." Eden reached for her hand. "You're not alone." But in her gut, she wondered if that was true. July 3rd, the kidnapping. They didn't even hear about it until sirens started screaming past Eden's house at dawn. Heather's mom called upstairs, her voice shrill. "Girls, turn on the TV." On the screen was a breaking news alert: kidnapping in MEADOLITH, police seeking Terry Nolan. Beneath it, the mayor was standing at a podium, his face a mask of grief and rage. "Took my son from our home while we slept. If anyone sees Terry Nolan, contact authorities immediately. He is considered unstable and dangerous." Celine pressed her hands over her mouth. "Oh my God." Rachel's head dropped into her lap. "This is my fault. If we hadn't told him." Eden shook her head, her own heart hammering. "No, it's the curse. It's this town." On the screen, the mayor's voice rose. "This man is a violent criminal. And let me be clear, he was enabled by people spreading lies and fear. These stories, these accusations, they have consequences." Heather flinched like she'd been slapped. The town erupts. By noon, social media was boiling over. Some people were calling Terry a monster. Others were saying it was the town's fault, Pennyville, the dam, all the buried secrets. Old resentments bubbled up: who belonged in Meadowlark, who didn't, whose history mattered. That night, someone smashed the window at the community center with a brick. Someone else set a trash fire in front of the courthouse steps. At home, Eden's mom locked all the doors. "We're not going anywhere," she said, her voice flat. "Not tonight." But Eden couldn't stop thinking of Rachel. Tomorrow was her birthday, and the curse, or whatever it was, hadn't been stopped. The last goodbye. The sun was just starting to sink when Eden sent the message. "Eden, we're coming over. You shouldn't be alone." Rachel hadn't replied. By twilight, Eden, Heather, and Celine were creeping through the hedges beside the Jew's house, trying not to crunch the gravel under their sneakers. They could see the kitchen light on, the faint shape of Rachel at the table, her head bowed over her folded arms. Eden tapped the window softly. Rachel looked up, her face blotchy and wet. She opened the back door without a word, and they slipped inside. "Please," Celine whispered, "just let us stay here tonight." Rachel's voice was so small it barely sounded like her. "They'll be up in a minute. My mom can't. She can't look at me without crying." Heather took her hand. "Then we'll be quiet. We'll just sit with you." Rachel nodded. She squeezed her eyes shut. "I don't want to be alone." But 10 minutes later, Mrs. Dews came down the stairs. The second she saw them, her mouth went tight, her hands gripping the banister like she might collapse. "You girls need to go." "Please," Eden tried. "Just tonight." "No," she whispered. "You need to go home." She called their parents before they could argue. They hugged Rachel on the porch while headlights bobbed down the street, signaling the end. Rachel pressed her cheek against Eden's hair. "I love you guys," she murmured, her voice hoarse. Heather swallowed back a sob. "We love you, too. Don't forget me," Rachel said. They promised they wouldn't, and then they were gone. July 3rd, the morning after. Nobody slept that night. Eden lay in bed with her phone clutched in both hands, willing it to light up. At 6:05 a.m., she called Rachel. Straight to voicemail. At 6:30, she texted, "Eden, please answer, please." Nothing. By 7 o'clock, the 3 of them were standing in front of Rachel's house. A county coroner van was in the driveway, back doors yawning open. Eden felt her knees buckle as she saw the stretcher. A body under a white sheet. Rachel's mother was clutching her husband's arm, her face buried in his shoulder. When Mr. Dews looked up and saw them, something in him snapped. "This is your fault," he spat, voice thick with grief. "All of you, you filled her head with that poison. You made her so afraid." He broke off, choking. Eden couldn't breathe. She couldn't move. Heather started to sob, burying her face in her hands. Celine reached for Eden's arm, her nails digging into her skin. "What happened?" Eden whispered, though she already knew. Mrs. Dews looked up, her face hollow. She drowned. She swallowed. In the bathtub. The coroner shut the van doors. The slam echoed across the yard like a gunshot. Later, they would hear the official ruling, suicide by drowning. Nobody would say the word curse. But in that moment, watching their best friend being driven away under a white sheet, Eden knew the curse was real. And it was coming for the rest of them next. The next name, the day after Rachel's funeral, the sun finally came out. But it didn't feel like light. It felt like exposure, like every raw nerve in Eden's body was laid bare. The town was still frantic. Every storefront window had a flyer with little Frankie Thacker's gap-toothed grin. The mayor had offered a $50,000 reward. Patrol cars cruised the streets at all hours. But nobody had seen Terry Nolan or the boy. And nobody was talking about the curse. A house that didn't feel like home. Eden barely left her room. Her mother tried coaxing her out for dinner, but she couldn't bear to sit at the table where Rachel used to eat with them after school. Heather stopped answering calls for days. When Celine finally picked up the phone, her voice sounded far away and exhausted. "I'm next," she said flatly. "My birthday's in 4 days." Eden shut her eyes. She felt her stomach lurch like she might be sick. "Celine, my parents are sending me to my grandmother's in Monroe. They think," she laughed, brittle and humorless. "Like the curse is going to check a map first." Eden swallowed hard. Maybe it will help. Maybe just being away." "You don't believe that?" Celine whispered. Eden didn't answer, leaving Meadowlark. The next afternoon, Celine's mom came to pick her up. Eden and Heather stood in the driveway as Celine loaded a single duffel bag into the backseat. "You don't have to go," Heather tried, her voice breaking. "You could stay with me." Celine shook her head. "They won't let me. They can't stand the thought of losing me too." She looked at Eden then, her eyes fierce behind the tears. "I'm not giving up," she said. "I'm going to keep researching from Monroe. There have to be records. Somebody has to know what happened on the 21st. Eden's throat burned. "Be careful." "I will. You too." Then Celine hugged them both, clinging so hard Eden could feel her heartbeat. When they pulled away, none of them said goodbye. It felt too final. A town on edge. That night, Eden lay in bed and stared at the ceiling. She could hear her mother crying downstairs, trying to muffle the sounds in a dish towel. She knew she should be thinking about little Frankie, about Celine, about what came next. But all she could think was, it's not stopping. It's going to take all of us. Celine's grandmother's house. Monroe was nearly 3 hours away, but it might as well have been another world. Celine's grandmother, a stooped old woman with silver braids, didn't ask many questions. She just showed Celine to the guest room and left a plate of cornbread on the nightstand. Celine lay awake for hours listening to cicadas shrieking outside the window. The second she heard her grandmother's snores through the wall, she slipped out of bed and powered up her laptop. She started searching newspaper archives, county court records, birth and death certificates, anything from the week of July 21st in any year. If she was going to die, she was at least going to understand why. End of Chapter 6. Chapter 7. The Bad Man. The 4th of July was cancelled. No fireworks, no parade, no cookouts. No one felt like celebrating anyway. Half the town seemed to want to kill the other half. The tension crackled in every corner, at the grocery store checkout lines, in church pews, in the dark windows of houses that hadn't bothered to hang a flag. Eden spent that whole day pacing from her bedroom window to her phone, waiting for a text from Celine that never came. She could feel the weeks of fear and grief hardening into something sharp in her chest. July 5th. The morning news broke like a slap across the face. Frankie Thacker had been found alive. He was wandering along the tree line behind a soybean field on the north side of town, barefoot and soaked to the bone. A delivery driver spotted him around dawn, clothes plastered to his small body, shivering so hard he couldn't talk at first. By the time the paramedics warmed him up, he'd only managed to say one thing over and over: "The bad man let me go." What Frankie said. Eden and Heather were together when the update aired. They were sitting in Heather's living room, their knees touching on the couch. The reporter's voice crackled through the TV speakers. According to Sheriff McRae, the boy stated that his abductor, presumed to be Terry Nolan, was alive as of this morning. Young Frankie says he was walked to the edge of the woods before dawn and told to run home. Heather's hand flew to her mouth. "He's still alive." "Yeah," Eden whispered, feeling a strange chill run through her. "And he didn't hurt Frankie. He kidnapped him." "Eden, I know, but he didn't kill him. For a second, neither of them spoke. The soft sound of the TV filled the space between them, naming all the reasons the town should be relieved. But Eden didn't feel relieved. She felt shaken. If Terry Nolan was alive, it meant he was still out there somewhere. It meant maybe he knew something about why the drownings were happening. It meant there were still pieces of this story no one was telling. She swallowed, her throat dry. We have to tell Celine, she said finally. Heather nodded. I'll call her, Celine's reply. Celine picked up after 3 rings, her voice hoarse. I saw, she said before Heather could speak. I've been watching the news all morning. Are you okay? Heather asked. No, a shaky breath. But if Terry is alive, maybe he's not just running. Maybe he's looking for something. Like what? Eden asked. I don't know, Celine whispered. But I'm going to find out.
Please join our investigative trio in the next video. Like, share, and subscribe for more content like this.